Hey, what's up, guys and gals? My name is Rick 9G. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about I Love Lucy, more specifically about the 5th episode from season 1 of I Love Lucy called The Quiz Show. And this shocking revelation that I made watching the other day this episode, and I said, oh my goodness, look at this in this episode. I bet no one caught this, and I wanted to put it in this video. Let me talk a little bit about the episode, talk about some really cool things about this episode you may not have known, and then go into that shocking revelation, which when you see it, it's going to be really hard to unsee. Now, in this episode, what happens? It aired November 12th, 1951. Now, Lucy is months and months behind in paying the bills. So what does she decide to do? Well, she goes on a radio show to win $1,000. Now, in order to win this money, she has to go through a challenge, and that is she has to introduce a stranger to Ricky and say that that is her first husband. Of course, all this chaos ensues, and there was a big misunderstanding. That doesn't only happen on Three's Company. Yes, it originated pretty much in I Love Lucy in regards to television. And a tramp, as Ethel calls him, or a bum, comes into the apartment, and Lucy thinks that's the man from the radio show, but it's not. Now, this man is played by John Emery. If you know Tallulah Bankhead, who did guest star in an episode of I Love Lucy, in an hour-long episode, this was the real-life husband of Tallulah Bankhead, Mr. John Emery. He also appeared in another episode where Ricky's trying to get a dog, and he is the annoyed neighbor. So kind of pretty cool to see that as well. Now, there's no Bill Frawley in this episode. In fact, yep, Fred Mertz is completely gone from this episode, and yes, you do really miss him. Now, what Lucy is doing in the beginning of the episode, which is what I really do want to focus on, is trying to get all of her accounts and bills and finances in order, because everything is a mess. She is so behind. But when I was looking at this episode, I was looking around at the scene, and remember, Lucy and Desi were really big into making sure everything on set was purposeful and everything was real and not just props, quote unquote. Everything was useful and realistic. And as you see Lucy, as the shot is centered on her, she's at the desk, and everything is wild because all the papers are strewn about and it's simply chaos all around her. Well, you will notice something. You will notice a line of bottles right behind Lucy. Now, you can tell that there's about 4 of them and a couple glasses as well. And you will see that some of them, there is less liquid than full. So some are not even full, which means that people were drinking out of them. That is, these were used bottles. And you may think, look at Lucy. Look how frustrated. Look how worried she is at what Ricky is going to say when he finds out about this chaos in regards to finances. Well, it's not a stretch to say that the people who directed this, Mark Daniels, and the people who were the head honchos, they put those bottles there for some reason. Remember, this was the 1950s. They're not going to sit there and show Lucy with a drink getting drunk, or maybe they would. They actually did it in the episode Vitamin Avengement, where Lucy is drinking that cocktail where it's a spoonful of health. You can spoon your way to health, and it had alcohol, a bunch of alcohol, and she actually got drunk. Now, that episode actually took place long after this one, still in season 1, but they were trying to take fewer chances in the beginning, and it's not a stretch to say that those bottles were there to show the remnants of what happened before we started watching the episode, or before we were clued in to the actual story that we were looking at, that Lucy was in fact drinking. I mean, that is my synopsis. That is what I believe was going on. Again, there's nothing crazy with thinking that I Love Lucy would have this on the show. You may think, no, that is something that would never be shown on TV. Well, Vitamin Avenger, and she was fully drunk. In this episode, we have the bottles there. If they didn't want to give that impression, they could simply have removed the bottles. In fact, if you go on later after this episode, you will never see those bottles again. Some people thought that they may think that Lucy and Desi were a bunch of drunks if they were just there, so they took them off, but they were there in this episode. What, they didn't think that during rehearsals? They didn't think that people would think that they were drunk with 4 or 5 bottles of wine, even hard liquor behind them? If you ask me, that was purposeful. And that was telling us in a little subtle way, in a way that the audience would pick up on, that Lucy was a little inebriated during this scene. Again, Lucy Ricardo, not Lucille Ball. There is a difference. Also, the amazing Frank Nelson is in this episode. One of his first appearances on I Love Lucy, in which he played Freddie Fillmore. He played Dickie Davis, Freddie Fillmore, Ralph Ramsey, and even the conductor in an episode. But you will see next to him as well, Lee Millar, who is actually the son of Verna Felton, who was on I Love Lucy twice. She was the old grumpy maid. That is the real life son. And of course, she did the voice of the fairy godmother in Disney's Cinderella. And that is her son, which is really interesting. And finally, at the end of the episode, this man who comes in and is the actual pretend actor husband of Lucy, that's played by the man Philip Ober, who was the real life husband of Vivian Vance. Yes, Ethel Mertz's real life husband, Philip Ober, plays Arnold, or that actor from the Freddie Fillmore show. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that awesome? This is the type of stuff that I love to show on this channel. If you want to see more I Love Lucy, if you want to see more videos just like this, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. And I know some of you have been delaying subscribing. I don't know why, but it really does help out the channel. We recently reached 150,000 subscribers. It's free to subscribe, and let me tell you, it helps tremendously. So take a couple seconds to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you all next time, and don't forget, everyone, be hopeful. Thank you so much to my supporters, especially my Diamond Tier patrons: Terry Y, Jerry D, Citizen Kane, Jennifer P, David D, Kevin K, Sally N, and Vito L. If you want to be on this patron list, go check the links in the description for a wonderful way that you can support the channel. Thank you.